get paid to speak. I am on a mission to help 1 million of our speakers get paid to speak by 2030. But I'm super delighted today because I've got Adrianne here today, and we're just going to get into what she talks about, why she's so excited about that, and her recent challenge about being visible as a paid speaker. So, Adrianne, first of all, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so we'd love to know, what do you talk about and why are you passionate about that particular topic?
Well, what I talk about is EdTech, particularly in schools. I'm passionate because I'm a tutor and I teach children face to face, but I also see the benefits of EdTech for children to help them to learn.
Yeah, and why do you think that it's really important that children have access to EdTech?
It's important because in a class of 30, you've got children with different abilities. So EdTech can adapt to like what stage they're at and help them along the way. Because I think with whole class teaching, what happens is it's assumed that every student's at the same level, and they're not. They could be advanced, or they could be obviously need some support. So it's a good way of helping students develop. Obviously, so they're achieving their potential, but also it doesn't mean that they're sitting in a class and they're a bit confused because they they don't understand what's being explained to them because they're not quite there yet. So with EdTech, you can adapt it to kind of where you're at and where you want to go.
Brilliant. And do you think that it also can be particularly helpful for children with special educational needs, or those children who aren't necessarily, learning in the same way as most children learn? Like, what are your views on how can it be used as particularly for children with special educational needs or children who need different kinds of ways to engage with learning?
So it is very good for SEND because with a lot of EdTech, it's not just about the learning, it also makes it interactive and fun. There's a gamification element as well. So it means that children are actually engaged and excited to be learning because they get stars or they get a prize or there's some recognition of their learning. In a classroom, you do get praise from the teacher, but again, you've got 30 students, possibly max, so you can't praise every child individually, unfortunately, and it's motivating as well if you know you're actually getting something for your work. You get a prize or a reward, then you're more likely to want to do more as well, and it's fun, it's interesting, and children like learning that way.
And do you think that it's more relevant now more than ever in the way that children are raised and brought up? Because a lot of children now are basically almost digital native from the time they come out of the womb, basically.
Yes.
So they have been socialized to be familiar with technology. And so do you think that's another benefit as to why it might be one of the best ways to engage with this newer generation with their learning?
So because again, a lot of children are very familiar with technology from an early age, then it is kind of relevant to their learning. I would also say it can be used alongside traditional learning, so books as well. So they're important as well. I think it's important to know how to read as well as kind of using technology to learn. So they're both important.
And a question that I think is quite relevant to the conversation about education and EdTech is everyone's got to ask questions about AI. So how do you think that AI and EdTech marry together? And in terms from the people's point of view, in terms of how it can identify what they're learning and where they potentially need help and support, and from the teacher's perspective, from gathering data and understanding how to actually fine tune and teach both with the tools and also in the classroom space.
Okay, with AI again, it will be used, as you said, it's a way of kind of, I suppose, tracking pupil progress and seeing like the areas that there are gaps where the children need support. So also I think AI can be effective. It can be effective use of the teacher's time as well, rather than having to kind of manually go through each pupil's progress, it can be used, alongside their understanding of the pupil as well. So it could cut down the time they're spending on admin. And like, obviously teachers spend a lot of time marking and administration, and a lot of the times they want to really focus on teaching, but that takes away their teaching time.
And so, what kinds of talks do you deliver when it comes to this topic? Is it panels? Is it podcasts? What kind of talks are you seeking to do?
So really I'm interested in speaking to as you said, panels. I'm happy to speak at schools as well, podcasts. So anywhere that it would be relevant, I suppose, of like technology and education. So I know there's particular conferences that like specialize in technology and education. There is one that's called BET that's happening next year, and that's all about technology and education. So.
Brilliant. And when it comes to this topic, what do you think is, the reason why it's urgent to talk about it? And, are there any particular tools you recommend in this space?
Yeah, I think it is very important to talk about it because it is very relevant. The government's recently announced a lot of investment, so £23 million in EdTech in schools, colleges and universities. So it's a pilot programme, and it will be used as a way to find out the best use of tech for student learning, to help teachers with the workload that I mentioned before, to cut down things like marking and admin, which takes away from their teaching time and the time of the students. And also looking at the infrastructure in the UK around Wi-Fi. So it's great that you've got the tech in the schools and you're upgrading that, but you also need the infrastructure to ensure that there isn't kind of delays in the internet, there's no buffering, and you can actually kind of deliver the lesson without there being delays and issues. So it's looking at kind of the old infrastructure of Wi-Fi and like the internet around the country to support that.
And do you think that schools have the capacity in terms of the amount of technology that they have currently to be able to support and move toward more digital learning?
I suppose it's a case-by-case basis, but I think the pilot is going to address that in terms of seeing what areas need improvement and what schools are doing well as well, just to see if there's a way that schools that need support can learn from schools that are doing it really well. So just like I suppose like a buddy system really. So like the schools that need support can learn from the schools that are doing it well and have the infrastructure, so they'll be able to support each other. But there is potential for it to happen, but there needs to be investment in it, and it needs to be done in a way that it kind of is it has a positive impact on all people. So you wouldn't want it to be done in just like certain areas and then others are neglected in the country. Say I don't maybe focus in on London or Manchester or Birmingham, like just having like certain areas that have the infrastructure. It should apply to everyone, including rural areas that always have an issue with the internet, obviously, and internet speed. So it's making sure everyone gets access to it. So there is potential there. And also the other part of it is that also teachers need to be trained as well in using technology, depending on when they became a teacher. It probably is a bit of a transition for them as well. So they're incorporating learning about technology into teacher training, and also for teachers that are existing teachers to make sure they're up to speed as well, so they can support the students in learning and accessing the technology to learn.
Yes, I mean, not spots can be a difficulty, whether it's in your home or whether it's in the school. Everyone suffers from, technology when it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, when you think about, where is it appropriate and where is it not? As you were saying, the great benefits of using it, and it has obviously many ways to help, different learners and engage with different pupils' self-learning and different, people's abilities, and it's really great. But I think the other thing is to have that balance of, like, because we are so now getting to an age where we're very technology forward, getting the balance right is, I think, something that is also probably very important. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what things do you think best suited for these kinds of tools, and what things you think are more suited with the actual, person to pupil, in-person type learning, or what kind of like blend or ratio do you think is good?
Okay, I think it's good to also have the foundational part of education, so knowing how to read and write, and also obviously maths as well, being numerate. So I think those things are important. Being able to think critically and and to have an opinion is important as well. Like soft skills like communication. But I think also technology plays its part, but it also can't replace what I've mentioned. So because to access technology, you still have to be able to read and understand what you're reading and follow instructions, and they go hand in hand. But really, it shouldn't be a replacement for teaching, like in the classroom. So you shouldn't just say give a device to a child, so it could be a tablet, and say, oh, okay, just do this work for the next hour and I'll come back to you. It's not like that, because it's, how do you know they're actually really engaging with it? Are they
right, exactly.
They'll just sit there and they're just like, oh yeah, this is great, but yeah, it's like, are you actually making a difference? Yeah, so you have to still be involved in it and kind of guide the students as well, and they have to understand, I think, why they're doing it and what the outcome is. So what are they getting out of using this technology? And I think the pilot will help with that. So they really want to see how the technology will work in the classroom in real time. So that's what it's about.
Fantastic. And do you think, as an educator, or as a tutor, or as a teacher, what kinds of tools do you think are useful for teachers to be using? Not for the teaching per se, but more for, as you talked about, like the marking and the lowering the administrative side of teaching. Are there any tools that you recommend, any that you use yourself? And what's your thoughts on that?
There aren't any tools that I use myself, and I wouldn't say there's any that I recommend. But I know there is potential for the technology to be used for that purpose. So it's, again, I think it's in its quite infant stage in terms of it being rolled out, because with marking, depending on what you're marking, and it could be like a paper script, like an exam that you sit and you write, or it could be something that is an online exam or test which is submitted. So I suppose it's, the marking structure will be different. So with something like maths, where there is usually just one right answer, it may be easier to kind of mark. But if it's English, I think the marking would be more complex, and you wouldn't also want to build bias into the marking of exams, because you wouldn't want to disadvantage anyone, because obviously there's more than one right answer for an English paper compared to a maths, and you wouldn't want people to kind of miss out on grades and opportunities because of that. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at to ensure it's fair. And yeah.
Brilliant. And what sort of ages pupils are you working with at the moment?
So yes, so the students that I work with are between 5 and 11, so they're at primary school.
So they're young, and so they're quite impressionable. And so yesterday I had a conversation with Ekua, who works in the higher education university field, and we were talking about students using AI to actually write their assignments. Obviously your kids are not at that stage yet, but what I would like to discuss with you is, how do you think that these children who are between 5 and 11, their thinking is being shaped by being digital natives? And I wanted to ask you particularly about how can teachers teach them critical thinking at a young age, because they're going to be very tempted to want to just use the technology. Obviously we want them to do that, but we want them to also understand that critical thinking is part of actually being able to do work effectively.
Yeah, so for me, the over reliance on Chat GPT that I see, and it's obvious that if you receive an email, it's kind of obvious that it's not written in the style of a person. It is very prescribed. It is very kind of very exact almost. You know, the words are very kind of, yeah. It's like
The flat, the kind of, yes.
yes, it does.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. Yeah, it's perfect. It's not three-dimensional. It's not from a
Yes.
person. So I think you've got to be very careful. And I think relying on AI to write every email, write every CV, write everything for you would mean that you would lose that ability then to write yourself and develop your writing style or vocabulary, your understanding, because you're literally saying, right, okay, chat GBT, this is what I want and do it, and just taking it 100% from there. And yeah, it's kind of obvious when someone has done that. You can see it, like you said, it is very kind of one dimensional, very kind of like a model answer for an exam. It's like that. It seems just too perfect. And I think it's important to develop those skills as well, that ability to write, and that ability to think, ability to be creative as well. Helps when you're learning. Reading helps with your vocabulary and your ability to write as well. And there's a lot of pleasure that you can get from reading as well, like different books. So yeah, both. Use both, but use AI as a tool rather than rely on it to do everything for you. So it's very helpful, but also, you know, you can do things yourself. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that AI is a helpful tool, but we need to actually learn, when it's useful and when it's not, but also to understand that because it is so easy to, put in the information and get something out, we actually have to think more when we use it. So I think that for children at a young age, it's, teaching them that yes, these tools are available, and also teaching them how to use them effectively, but also making them understand that actually they need to be able to think independently of them by themselves, and actually that is a good skill, because I think that we are going to be in an age where, because it is so prevalent, that people are going to think that maybe it's the right way, but we actually have to remind people that actually it's a machine, and that actually what we want to hear is people's real thoughts, people's real views and opinions, and that is actually useful and helpful and valuable. And as you were saying, Adrianne, that perfection isn't what we necessarily want. We actually want, in some ways now, a bit of imperfection and mistakes, so that we actually know it really is a person. And in your experience, do you think that young people are, attuned to the fact that things can be fake, and ChatGPT does make mistakes? I love your thoughts on how are teachers and other educators training children to understand that it's a machine and that it's not real and that it does make mistakes.
Yes. Yeah, so I suppose in my experience, the students that I teach, they're not using AI in the classroom. They may, if they're part of the pilot in the not too distant future, because it starts this September. But they're aware of it. So I think one of my students, she was like, oh, I think she knew the difference between something that was AI generated, like a cartoon or a picture, versus something that was drawn by a person. So I think they're more aware of it than when I was growing up, because I mean the internet didn't exist for a while for me. I'm older, and I tell my son that, and he just laughs. It was like you can't imagine the world without it. But so I think they're more aware of it. Also, I think like teachers and parents have their part to play as well, in order to kind of let children know that, like you said, be very clear, it is a machine and it can make mistakes. It's not perfect, kind of like human beings, really. And and it depends what information you put into it and how specific you are in order to get the answer that you want. You've got to be aware of kind of the information that you want out of it and what you want to get out of it. Because if it's too broad, it will give you so much information, then you don't know what to do with it. And then you have to kind of narrow it down yourself, or maybe start again. But yeah, so it's understanding, that it is a machine, it's not a person. So yeah, and the information that you get out of it also, it's important to kind of be critical of that and question it and check it, not just take it as, yes, this is 100% true and factual, because it's not always the case.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that whether you're a child or an adult or of any age, we do need to make sure that we are checking the outputs of the AI machine of your choice, because as ChatGPT now tells you, it does make mistakes. So, and it's quite ironic that we've come to an age where we believe a machine more than people. But there we go. So I'd love to now talk a little bit about the challenge that you're recently on and your experience of that. So first of all, like, what made you decide to join the Paid Speaker Visibility Challenge?
So what made me want to join is that I have spoken previously, but I haven't been paid for it. So so yeah, it was something that was out of my comfort zone. I have posted on LinkedIn previously, but not every day for 7 days. So I thought, well, it's a challenge. I'll do it. And I did. So yeah, so that in itself was an achievement, because I had to think of content or something to say every day for 7 days consistently. So
and that's brilliant. And so for you, what changed as a result of doing the challenge? Did you find it easier? Did you find it like, actually, start to build a muscle? Like, and have you now decided, how often you'd like to post?
Yeah, so initially I thought once a week, but I thought that's, with what I do outside of work, that's probably not realistic. So I'm going to start with posting once a month, and then be consistent with that, and then maybe increase once I get into the habit of posting. Because it's better to set a target that I can reach rather than one that I can't, and then I'm so it's encouraged me to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's super helpful, because one of the things we also learned in the challenge is that we can schedule posts and we can make it easier on ourselves in terms of like organization and thinking and making time to actually create content. So for you, did you have a day or a time when you created the stuff, or was it on the fly, or did you have a process, and will you have one going forward?
I didn't, because some of my posts were quite late. If you noticed the point, yeah, it was. I was like, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
I was like forcing myself. I was like, no, I have to post today. So because I wanted to be consistent for the 7 days. But I think going forward, I probably will dedicate some time. It doesn't need to be a massive amount of time.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
To actually do the post, and again using like tools, like you said, scheduling a post, so you can do it in advance, and then it'll be posted when you want to. So that helps.
Definitely. And what would you say for you was the biggest win from taking part in the challenge?
For me, the biggest win was that in terms of, I suppose, engagement. So I saw people engage with my posts, which was a good thing. So so I think that's a positive, because it means that obviously people are noticing what you're saying. I also, although it's not something you should focus on, I noticed that I did get a lot of impressions for my posts. So obviously it reached a lot of people in terms of them reading it. So I think that's positive. It means that there is interest in what I'm posting. Yeah, there is an interest there, so that's good. That's encouraging.
And what was your biggest lesson from the challenge?
I would say my biggest lesson would be to post consistently. Because more often than not, I think you do have something to say, you do have an opinion. It could be about anything, but not posting it would mean you're like losing out. You could lose out on opportunities, you can lose out an engagement, and you could connect with people that are also interested in your opinion, and you can learn that way as well. So it's I would say definitely post more often, and I think that's the thing I've kind of taken from it. Post more often.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we learned again collectively in the group was that actually, once we have done this, we can actually repurpose and talk about these things again from a slightly different perspective, and add and take away different things. So it's not wasted. It's actually really great that you've got 7 days of post, which you can now either add things, subtract things. You can also put different images, different clips, and so it's a great way, like once you've done like a challenge like this for 7 days, to actually feel confident and actually you're not starting from scratch. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so like you said, once you've got like 7 days of posts and you're posting consistently, you can repurpose the information, so you don't have to again think of a new idea. You can expand on what you've done already, or you can edit it. You can add, like you said, like video or images to it, and yeah, it can reach another audience just by doing that. So it's not a case of doing like 100% original post each time.
No, exactly. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
Which saves time as well.
Yes. And the thing just to remind everyone is that we don't need to necessarily do 100% original posts every time, and that's not the goal. And I think that it's what we need to be mindful of is most of the time people don't see the content first time out. The only person who sees 100% of the content is you. So we've got to remember that actually we need to repeat the same stuff over and over and over again. And it might seem boring to us, but actually statistically, I think it's between 7 and 10% of the stuff that you post gets seen by your immediate network. So that's quite a low number. So you've got to be reminded that even though you're seeing it and you might feel bored, actually not as many people are seeing it as you think. So it's okay to repeat the same thing. And how do you feel about that? Because I think some people sometimes feel a bit like, oh, it's a bit icky and weird and it's boring. But what are your thoughts?
Admittedly, I haven't reposted like old posts, but I think it's something that I'll do going forward, because I think sometimes you put pressure on yourself to come up with something original and you may not have something, so you don't post at all. So it's kind of, yeah, it's stopping you from posting, which you should be doing more consistently. So yeah, I will going forward do more of that. So repurpose, like you said, like the first time you post, 100% of your followers don't see it. So it's worth doing it a few times, because obviously for various reasons, people are busy and they may not catch it the first time, but if you do it again, they'll see it and they may share it with their followers as well, and make a comment. So yeah, so the post initially could have another life by you reposting it, and it could do better the second time.
That's true. And another thing, just to again, what we saw from the challenge is that even after the 7 days, even 2 weeks later, because I was tagging all of the posts, I'm still seeing new people engaging with those old posts. So the posts do have a shelf life after the initial posting. So, but what we need to do is have something out there for people to find. And like I said to everyone on the challenge, it's not about being a 7-day poster. That was not the purpose. The purpose of it was to build the muscle and then to come to a decision about what works for you. As you're saying, one time a month, great, work with that and keeping that going. But knowing that you already have a body of stuff that's out there and to check on it, and if people are still responding to it, then obviously respond in kind. There's no reason that you have to do new work necessarily. You can actually still engage with your old post, add new comments if people are commenting. Why not?
Yes. Yeah.
Super. So just before we close, Adrianne, please do remind everyone what you talk about and what are the kinds of stages that you're seeking.
So I talk about EdTech. Sorry. So I talk about EdTech in schools, and the stages would be schools, also conferences, particularly focused on EdTech. I suppose also, yes, anywhere that any organisation or company that is interested in EdTech in schools.
Thank you, Adrianne. Well, thank you so much. It's been a really useful and exciting chat about, the opportunity for technology in schools, the strengths and the opportunities, and where we need to be mindful of how to have the right balance. Because now we are definitely in a technology forward age. Young people are experiencing technology faster, and it's our duty as educators, teachers, and those in the community to make sure that young people are getting the right education about how to use technology appropriately, especially AI, and how to really be critical thinkers in this time where it's so easy just to take things that are produced by AI as facts, and not to fact check, or to kind of be seduced by things that are false, because actually as a young person you might not know, but I think there's a lot of great work that Adrianne and others are doing. So Adrianne, please do give us a final word about how to get in touch with you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, so it's just Adrianne Lowe, which is my name, so feel free to connect with me. I don't think there are many Adrianne Lowe's on LinkedIn. Definitely send me a connection. So yeah, so that's probably the best way to connect with me.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Adrianne. We really appreciate your time, and it's been a really fantastic chat. And we will be sharing this within our network. And yeah, we look forward for you staying in our community, and for joining us on the next challenge, which will be in March. All right. Well, thanks very much, and take care now.
Thanks. Bye.